apologize right off the bat. Sorry that Kevin made y'all work today. I know that y'all were wanting the day off, but he did it out of spite, I'm sure. So, so we've already gone back and looked at the film from the other night and put the thing to bed, made the corrections that we needed to correct, and have now moved on and are concentrating on A&T. So, but I'm sure that most of you guys' questions are going to be from the game the other night. So let's go ahead and get these addressed.
Do you have any more clarity about what exactly went wrong in the red zone, especially with Marquise interception?
The first pick down there in the red zone was he knew where he was going with the ball, and he threw a bad ball. I mean, the ball was way too low. He knew the backer was there and just threw it under, too low. He needed to put the ball on top of the helmet and give us a chance. The one down on the next one going in down there was the situation where we had slants to the field and had a route into the boundary, and he had free access into the boundary, and he checked it, but then tried to come back to the slants in the field. And in a quick game throw, you're not going to be able to work both sides of the field. And then on the last play, they had he got flushed out of the pocket, had to make a quick decision and a quick throw, and he just didn't get the throw where he needed it to be. So all three of them, they're not good things. I mean, we talked about going into the game, especially an early game of the year, where turnovers are going to be the difference in the game, turnovers and penalties, and they were.
Going back to last season, he's kind of struggled the past 3 games in a row. Really hasn't really played all that well since at Duke last year. Do you see any kind of common threads or any trends in these past 3 games for him? Or?
I haven't gone back and looked at last year's games on it, but we're aware of what we've done. I don't know if there's a common trend other than there's been some inconsistency, and that would be the common trend, and that's the thing that we got to get out of, is we've got to be consistent, because there were did a lot of really good things in the game, did a lot of really good things, but then you can't turn the ball over, with that position and think that you're going to have a good night.
Is there a level of concern, or you just look at this as everybody has a bad game once in a while and you move on?
I'm always concerned. I'm concerned about everything. So, but we move on. I mean, we move forward. We make the corrections, and we expect them to get corrected, and we expect them not to be made again. That's what we expect.
He missed some other throws. He was behind Bug a few times and overthrew Ryan a couple of times. What did you like that Marquise did the other night?
Well, he made a lot of really good throws. I mean, he made a lot of really good throws. He made good decisions. Most of those runs that we had are all run option to pass, and he made good decisions to run the football at the time that we ran them. And then there were times that he pulled it out and threw it that were good decisions. So it was not a total, game where he couldn't throw it or he couldn't make good decisions. It just boiled down to there were probably 3 or the one he threw behind Bug was a coverage situation. The backer dropped into the coverage, and so he threw it behind him instead of waiting for him to come open in the second window. He tried to get it to him too quick.
Have teams tried to defend him any differently because he had so much success early last year?
I don't think so. I mean, they were, the other night were pretty basic in what they were doing, and it was not, they weren't gonna fool you into thinking they were doing something different. I mean, it was pretty basic.
The interceptions he threw in the end zone, what options were those? In other words, was that his first option, second option, third on those plays?
On both of them in the end zone, it's like the third option.
Okay.
With those red zone opportunities, and you haven't looked at the game tape, not that you could foresee that somebody's going to throw that many picks, but in terms of who was working for you that night and how effective Elijah was, would his number get called more frequently in that situation if you had it to do over?
If I could do it over, I'd do a lot of things differently, but I don't get the option to do that. I mean, but that's the great things that you guys get to do that we don't. And sure, you could say, heck, we had 60-something plays, we could have handed it to Elijah 60-something plays, if that.
I mean, in that window.
We could have called a different pass, we could have called a different run, we could have called a lot of different things. But the ones we called we had prepared for, and we felt good about those calls, or we wouldn't have made those calls in the game. We expected them to be successful, and unfortunately they weren't.
Is that a situation where you've scripted plays or, have a
No, we don't script them for the, but we have, a game plan for the red zone, or we have a game plan for the score zone, and we have a game plan for goal line, and we work the 3 or 4 plays that we're going to work down there, and that's what we do.
How much conversation have you guys had as coaches about Elijah's workload, particularly when it's 3rd and 3 late in the game and he's not on the field at the 3-yard line?
How much conversation?
Yeah, like
we had
maybe,
explaining-
how much did y'all discuss his workload in the last game, the fact he only got 12 carries and
Oh,
what that
yeah.
means going
You
forward?
Look how productive as he was in the game. You say, we want to make sure you get the ball in his hands, so many times a game. And, if he's healthy and running well and productive, then we need to get the ball to him more. There's no doubt. In that situation, it was the 3rd one that I don't know what he reeled off, about 30-something yards there, and that's when he came out of the game going in on that last series. And then we were in a hurry-up mode, at that point, and we didn't get him back into the game.
Well, if you look at the replay on TV, he's half onto the field, 4 or 5 steps onto the field with
Right,
Coach
but-
Porter, and then they
but
pulled
we're
him
in a-
back.
Because we're in a hurry-up mode,
Yeah.
and we can't substitute in a hurry-up mode.
Was that a personnel package issue?
No. He had taken him out because he got, the whatever, how long was the third one?
29, I think.
29 yards, he broke about 4 tackles there at the end of it. So he got him out, get him a breath, and we had planned on putting him back in, but we went into hurry mode, so we don't substitute in that mode.
Is that a lesson to be learned of maybe slowing things down and making sure you have the guy you want in there at the right time?
Yeah, I guess. Slow it down, you can stop it, you could do a lot of things, but that's not what we did. We went into a hurry mode, and we don't substitute in that situation. If it would have been successful, we wouldn't be talking about these things, So that's the thing that the plays that were called because that's what we prepared in that situation, and we felt like that would be successful. We didn't execute the play that was called. So would you call something else? Would you put somebody else in? Sure. You do it. If I knew right now that those plays would not be successful, I would not have run them. I promise you. And I would have put anybody else in, and any other play.
You guys as an offense, I think when Gio was here, there was numerous games where he had 20 carries, but it's not something that's happened very often since then. And I know you've got a rotation and
because the last couple of years we didn't have a one single guy,
right?
But I anticipate that happening this season. I really do.
Having one guy because I was just going to ask me if that was something that's just the nature of the way you guys run your offense, where you want to substitute and you have multiple backs, or if you want to go ahead and try to go to one guy more.
Yes, when one guy is more productive than the others, then that guy's going to get the majority of the carries, yes.
Did your defensive coordinator and staff get a steak dinner over the weekend?
I don't know. I didn't eat with them. And they did some really good things. I think they were, again, now I'm not going to come in here and say that the defensive staff was all fired up about what happened in the game, because they weren't. The way they looked at it, they gave up a catastrophic play that was the difference in the game, and they go into a game saying they can't give up any catastrophics, and that big play was a big play in the game. Now there were a lot of other good things in the game that happened, but it all boils down to 1 or 2 plays, and you either make those plays or you don't. But there were a lot of bright spots defensively for them to build off of. Yes.
When Coach Chiswick had mentioned specifically the idea of having physicality, being a much more physical defense was kind of a priority for him. When you watched the film, was that much apparent to you guys that there was an improvement on that?
Yeah, there was definitely improvement in that area. And I'm not going to say that we were the most physical team on every single play, but there were a lot of plays that we were physical and got after it. And then there were some that we didn't feel like we were as physical as we needed to.
Have you been able to address the left side of the defensive line?
address it? What do you mean?
In terms of, they were getting some nice gains running to the right.
I'll be honest with you, we haven't talked about where their gains were, where there weren't, you know, we didn't, at least I haven't talked about that with Gene. I mean, we have who we have, you know, so, we don't get to, we don't have any other people to put in there really, so it's gonna be what it is. I don't know that, maybe they felt like their right side of their line was stronger than their left side, I don't know.
With Marquise, how did you break down kind of what went wrong with it?
Oh, you know, yesterday we went through every single play, you know, and what were you thinking here? Why'd you think this? What were, you know, and to hear his thought process was important for me, to know what he was thinking in each of those situations throughout the game. The good ones, the bad ones, all the things that, you know, came up in the game. I mean, we do that every week with a quarterback because I want to know exactly what his thought process is, because his thought process should be exactly like mine or Coach Heck's, you know, by the way he is taught throughout the week, you know, and when he went outside of that is when he got into problems. You know, when he stayed within exactly what he's been taught, he was golden.
It looked like on at least one of those picks he threw in the end zone too, he had an opportunity to run. He had a clear running lane, but didn't. Did you notice that at all? Do you feel like that's a result?
Yeah, but I mean, that you can go back anytime in a game and see where a quarterback thinks he could, you know, he could possibly take off and run, but he also has a throw, so he either throws it or he runs it. I mean, you know, again, that's hindsight. You know, if he threw it in there and it was a touchdown, you know, or if he ran and didn't get in, we'd say, well, heck, he had a guy he could have thrown it to. So,
Right.
I mean, when you're in the heat of the battle, you got to make those decisions. I mean, it's, you know, if you're in an option offense, which I've been in before in my life, you could go back on the film and you could say, oh gosh, I wish he'd pulled it here. Oh gosh, I wish he'd handed it here. Oh gosh, and you could say that for 40-something plays in the game. But the quarterback's got to make those decisions, and he's got to make them in the heat of the battle, and he's got to make them like that. So we live with it. So we coach him up, and we live with him making those decisions. And with what we do offensively, where a lot of our runs are also tagged with passes, he has to make that decision like that quickly. And sometimes you look at the film and you go, I wish he would have thrown it here. Sometimes I wish he would have run it here. But he you know, you could what if yourself to death in those situations.
Right.
He's got to do what he thinks is right at that time.
What did you see on film as far as the line had some procedure penalties that for a group with so many veterans you don't want to have, obviously?
Yeah, we had some issues up front with communication. You know, I would say we had one where we had you know, John Heck was lined up too deep in the backfield on that third and long that we converted, and the rest of them were all communication problems that we have addressed and ironed out. Didn't feel like, you know, out of camp that we had any issue whatsoever in that area, and it came up that night. So we've got to get that changed.
You got an A&T team coming in here that played down last weekend, but obviously has to feel good about its first week's performance.
Oh, I would imagine they do. I mean, they were dominant in just about everything they did. They, you know, they've been picked to win their league again. I believe they won it last year, right?
Yes.
I believe. Okay. And, you know, so I would imagine they'll come in here with a lot of confidence, and they'll come in here expecting to win a football game.
Have you cultivated any kind of a relationship, given their coach is a UNC alum? Has there been any paths crossing?
No, I don't know Rod. I know who he is, and obviously know he played here and has coached here in the past, and have tremendous respect. I know he's done a tremendous job over there at A&T in turning that program, and so he's you know, very well respected in the coaching profession.
How much does a game like what? And you guys weren't the only ones that had a Power 5 opponent that you were playing the opening weekend. How much does a game like that help or hurt your perception, what people perceive of you as a quality team when you guys don't win a game like that? Because there's only so many of those non-conference that you get to have.
Yeah, you know, you either play a Power 5 conference or you play down. You know, is basically what the way it works these days. And when you play a Power 5 conference, you take the risk of what happens in your opening game the other day. And so, I don't know, I mean, like, I didn't feel like going into that game was going to define who we were as a football team one way or the other. I had, in my mind, already had plans whether if we won the football game, how we were going to have to respond, and if we didn't win the football game, how we were going to have to respond. Excuse me. So, the perception of it, you played a good football team and you had opportunities to win the game and you didn't get it done. So you go back as a team and you say, okay, well, here's where we feel like we are as a football team. We had plenty of opportunities to win this football game. If we do this, we win the football game, So then you build off all the good things, you get the bad things corrected, and hopefully we're a better football team this week than we were last week.
And how did the guys handle the weekend? I mean, it was in the frustrating loss, and then you have a couple extra days before you're back in a game routine. How did they handle the aftermath?
I think good. Time will tell. My expectations for them were that, yes, they were going to hurt because they put a lot into it and want to win a football game. The things that, were to, okay, you got about 24 hours that you get to deal with it, and that's about it. And then you got to put it to bed, and we got to get better, and we've got to be a better football team. And so hopefully that's what we're doing.
Did you give them days off though?
They had Saturday off.
Saturday
yes.
off, okay.
Yeah. So it's basically we're back to a normal week
Right.
for us now. So we practiced yesterday and made all the corrections and then started on A&T yesterday.
How much of a role do you have, like, in the nitty-gritty of play calling in a game? Is that completely up to Seth, or are you making suggestions, or what's the dynamic between you?
Yeah, it just depends on what's going on and the timing of it. If it's moving, there's not a lot to be said. If I start talking, that's clutter on the headsets between him and the so if there's a timeout or the ball stopped or something like that, that's a different situation. Most of the conversation all happens in between series, with, okay, now this is what happened, this is what I saw, this is what I think we need to try to do this next series, those kind of things, and talking through situations in the game. But when it's being called and it's going, you're flowing right now in the flow, and it's, the speed of the game is going, I try to stay off the line as much as possible because that creates problems when you do that.
At this stage in his development, is Elijah capable of carrying the ball 25 times a game and staying on it for a long run?
Oh, I think so. Yeah, I think so. Again, it depends on, is it the first play of the series that he has a long run? Is it the sixth play of the series? I mean, it just depends on, Larry's got to have that feel. I can't sit there and watch Elijah Hood and determine what Elijah Hood is doing in the game. Larry Porter handles that. He's the one who watches him and knows when he needs a break and when he doesn't.
Anybody else? All right.